speaker is Mr. Tim Middlehurst. He is the founder and CEO of New Zealand Body for Certificate Issuance, which operates the New Zealand Energy Certification System. And Tim has been dedicated in integrating the sustainable technology into existing systems and markets for more than a decade. And under Tim's leadership, the New Zealand Energy Certificates is now recognized internationally and has become a fundamental part of New Zealand electricity system. The topic he's going to share is current and the future development of energy certification in New Zealand. Mr. Middlehurst, you have the floor, please. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Tim Middlehurst, the founding chief executive of the New Zealand Body for Certificate Issuance. Thank you to the organisers of this workshop, my fellow speakers and all participants. It's my honour to be speaking first here today. I wanted to speak today about the work that is ongoing in New Zealand to develop an impactful renewable energy procurement market based in part upon the transaction of energy certificates. Please do feel free to add any questions into the chat. I'm sure there's an opportunity to speak about those later. Very quickly, the New Zealand Body for Certificate Issuance operates the New Zealand Energy Certificate System. The NZECS is a full-service tracking system in support of transactions between generators and consumers of energy. We are registered as a commercial for-purpose entity and have the freedom to innovate and evolve rapidly in support of the requirements of New Zealand energy market participants. In terms of the current state of energy certification within the New Zealand energy market, I wanted to start off with a little bit of an introduction to the energy system itself. So very quickly, in terms of electricity usage in New Zealand, we have approximately 40 terawatt hours of electricity use each year, with the vast majority coming from renewable sources. About 60% comes from hydro generation, an additional 15% from wind generation, and around 5% coming from geothermal. The majority of our hydro generation is located in the bottom of the South Island, with an HVDC connection in the Cook Strait, bringing power up to the North Island as required. Traditionally, our hydro facilities and resources have operated as a buffer for intermittent renewables, and fortunately we've had little to no system level curtailment or spill as a result of that. The gap, of course, between the 80% renewable and the remainder of our consumption has come from thermal generation, primarily coal and gas, with historically very little solar capacity installed in New Zealand. We currently have less than 10 megawatts of grid-connected solar capacity in New Zealand. Historically, as mentioned, we've had very little constraint in terms of renewable generation, but despite this, we still have significant renewable resources available to be developed. Of note, in the last 18 months, we have over 600 megawatts of grid-connected solar projects that have been announced, a number of which have been confirmed, and a number of which have begun construction development. Given this base, this natural resource we have available to us, there hasn't been a lot of financial support required from government over time. For example, we've never had feed-in tariffs or purchase mandates for electricity generation in New Zealand. At the same time, the level of renewable resource that we have available to us presents significant opportunities to decarbonise other sectors across New Zealand through technologies such as hydrogen electrolysis for vehicle transport, vehicle fleet electrification, and use of electric heat pumps for low to mid-temperature process heat requirements. This is a big part of the strategies across New Zealand to decarbonise many industrial sectors, and some forecasts, including the National Grid Operator, expect that the New Zealand electricity market could increase by up to 50% by the end of this decade. Of relevance here in relation to the New Zealand electricity system is the fact that New Zealand operates a gross pool wholesale electricity market. This means, of course, that all renewable generators must sell their electricity to the clearing manager, and all retailers or consumers must buy from the wholesale market. This creates structural separation between generators and consumers of electricity, making it difficult for consumers to understand and affect their own emissions associated with electrical supply. In relation to relevant energy policy in New Zealand, of course, there are a number of activities going on at governmental level, And a couple here are worth noting. So we have committed to net zero carbon emissions as a country by 2050. And particularly in relation to electricity, we have an aspirational target of reaching 100% of electricity generated from renewable source by 2030. That, of course, relates to a normal hydrological year and is affected by lake inflows, etc., given our dependence on hydro generation. The New Zealand government is also committed to implementation of a sustainable biofuels mandate, which is a purchasing mandate, taking effect first from 2023, and have passed legislation to make mandatory climate-related disclosures for publicly listed companies, insurers, banks, non-bank deposit takers, and investment managers. In addition, the New Zealand government operates a national emissions trading scheme with a defined emissions cap as a key mechanism to achieving decarbonisation. The New Zealand Ministry for the Environment is also currently consulting on an emissions reduction plan which will set the direction of climate action in New Zealand for the next 15 years. This plan is considering a number of steps, including those required to achieve objective decarbonisation of the natural gas system and transport sectors, etc. While not of governmental policy, but of relevance, are the number of private organisations committing to emissions reductions and renewable energy procurement activities. Frameworks such as the Climate Leaders Coalition, Science-Based Targets, RE100, and industry-specific programs such as the World Port Sustainability Programme are leading large energy users to take action to reduce their emissions obligation. Within this context then, and in support of the policies and programs just described, the New Zealand Energy Certificate System was established. The NZECS exists to practically support renewable energy procurement, to enable it to happen and support its impact fundamentally. Our vision is to enable ambitious buyers to understand the environmental impacts of their purchasing decisions, to enable them to make informed decisions, and to maximise the incentive for those decisions to lead to tangible, quantifiable and demonstrable impact. The NZECS was established in 2018. It's entirely voluntary. It was initially built to support transaction of electricity, but significant developments have taken place and certificates for renewable gas will now be available within the 2022 calendar year. The system was designed in accordance with a number of international principles, including the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, ISO 14064, and standards such as ISO 17029 and 14040 also influence particular elements of system operation. In addition, the NZECS calculates and publishes the New Zealand residual supply mix on a monthly basis and is recognised as the source of emissions factors to use within leading New Zealand environmental reporting programs. On how the system works, I won't dwell here for too long, given the level of knowledge and expertise of the audience. In essence, we are continually improving our systems and processes in order to support increased usage and impact. A big part of these developments will be the inclusion of additional data streams on system benefit and impact, harvested at the time of device registration or calculated based on market activity, stored within our registry and captured within certificate instruments transacted. More information on how the system works is available at our website, www.certifiedenergy.co.nz, or if you have any questions, we're more than happy to share the details of our system. A quick note here on the growth and trade of NZECs, New Zealand Energy Certificates in New Zealand. From a standing start in 2018 with no requirement for purchase, the NZECS will close this production year with 80 of the largest industrial and commercial energy users in New Zealand registered, representing around 600,000 megawatt hours of energy. In addition to that, generators and retailers representing 75% of market volumes are now registered within the NZECS, and so we expect continued strong growth in coming years. Of particular interest is the volume of new solar development in New Zealand and other renewable development likely to hit the New Zealand market in the next 1 to 3 years, of which we expect the majority will forward contract for sale of their energy certificates via the NZECS. In addition will be the introduction of certificates for renewable gas production. While biogas and methane production is somewhat constrained by the level of available feedstock, hydrogen production potential is significant. One comment I'll make here on the growth in certificate procurement in New Zealand is the importance of confidence in the system and the system settings. This speaks to the importance of alignment and harmonisation across systems in order to ensure that users are having the confidence they require to contract for purchase. Moving on then to expectations of the future. We see two major trends as of particular relevance to the development of the NZECS in coming years. The first one, in which I'll go into more detail, is the growth in the scale and ambition of voluntary action that will be executed through procurement of renewable energy, and growth in the availability of renewable fuels in gaseous and liquid fuel markets. When taken together, voluntary demand and potential for development could significantly accelerate system decarbonisation. We are working to ensure that we're ready to support market participants as these trends develop. Let me talk through these two trends and our planned responses in coming slides. As discussed, it's our expectation that for a variety of reasons, both commercial and through governmental activity, there will be a strong growth in the level of voluntary activity. That's activity that's taken voluntarily in response to a range of drivers, resulting primarily in a great increase in purchase of renewable energy. It will grow in terms of volume, the number of parties who seek out low carbon energy options, but also in terms of ambition, the level of requirement for low carbon energy products that are being purchased. For the most part, this will need to be supported with market-based mechanisms such as certificates, where capital solutions are not available or feasible. In support of this coming growth in voluntary action, we see it as important, if not critical, to, one, ensure that transacted energy is consistently and explicitly recognised. There will be a number of mechanisms through which renewable energy can be procured, and we recognise increasing demand for contracting of energy through contracts such as virtual PPAs. This may be particularly true for those parties seeking to both reduce their own reportable emissions, i.e. claim ownership of production attributes, but also to prove contribution to system impact. Our work in this area will focus on ensuring that all energy purchasing mechanisms are able to be recognised within the NZECS, that the merits of these contracts are understood. It will be increasingly important that we break down barriers of participation in order to maximise the number and type of certificate transactions that are able to be recognised. It's important for us that we continue to simplify the process of registration within the NZECS and the process of data acquisition in order to make certificate transactions as simple as possible. In addition, we're actively developing market structures to ensure ease of certificate transaction for smaller parties and in smaller volumes. As voluntary action increases, we think it's really important that we continue to promote the impact on the system as a differentiator for consumers making purchasing decisions. For example, over time, the introduction of new solar on top of additional new solar may have a diminishing return in terms of displacement of thermal fuels. And so differential value may occur from this generation type versus a different generation type. For example, solar plus battery that shifts generation to a morning or evening peak. Our work in this area will increase the level of information available to buyers, including production emissions, embodied emissions, and avoided emissions, and make this information available for a buyer in order to make the most impactful decision possible. In addition, we're working to support realisation of value created by positive system impact. It's likely that voluntary purchase of certificates will have a quantifiable reduction on system emissions, even greater if this reduction can be financially realised. Finally, generally speaking, it's important to increase the level of information available to buyers and sellers. This will include a range of things, from information on market activity to international activity and benchmarking, and specific information on user performance. Ultimately, we see success in these four areas as being critical in maximising the benefit of the NZECS to New Zealand from voluntary actions taken over coming years. The secondary trend that we see as extremely important for our system and our country is the availability of renewable fuels in new sectors such as renewable pipe gas, renewable bottled gas, renewable hydrogen for transport, and renewable liquid fuels for transport. As these fuel types near market, the NZECS will ensure that certification is available to support economic production. Beginning in 2022, the NZECS is preparing to offer certification for biogas and biomethane, hydrogen, bio-LPG. Renewable gas projects currently in development in New Zealand include hydrogen production from electrolysis, biomethane from anaerobic digestion for pipeline injection, and landfill gas capture for electricity generation. Solutions for decarbonisation of the LPG market are in discovery, with some regulatory evolution still required. In the future, we will extend the NZECS to support certification for renewable liquid fuels, such as biodiesels and renewable diesels, and hope to support decarbonisation of the aviation sector however we can. As attribute transfer is so critical to the production economics of these energy types, our work will require us to support the development of these purchasing markets in harmonisation with international markets and schemes. Finally, I want to speak on the importance harmonisation of activities across not just our own market, but global markets. It's our view that there is massive potential for voluntary action to achieve decarbonisation, largely led by mechanisms such as certification that support renewable energy procurement. To achieve this potential, it's important that we are all aligned with our surrounding systems, standards and frameworks. We see alignment as important along a number of dimensions, the first of which being alignment on the domestic approach to greenhouse gas reporting, activities within the country of New Zealand being aligned in the way we address these behaviours. Much of the value of renewable energy procurement is created within the reporting programs, and alignment will be key to maximising incentive for users. In addition, we need alignment on domestic practices around procurement. As discussed, we need to do this in order to make sure that industry doesn't inadvertently get in its own way. Misaligned behaviours, existence of double counting as mentioned already, could erode value in these systems and mechanisms, and ultimately erode trust in market-based mechanisms. Last, but definitely not least, is alignment across regional and global standards and approaches. Given the increasingly global nature of energy procurement, it will be critical to ensure that our local ambitions remain aligned with regional and global best practice. It's our view that work at APEC level can support alignment in all three of these dimensions, and we're very happy and willing to support this work. That's the extent of my comments for this morning. Thank you so much for your attention. Please feel free to reach out for any reason. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Thanks for your sharing. I think Mr. Middlehurst just mentioned some interesting ideas, such as the certification for renewable fuels, and also highlight the importance of system harmonization for better clarity and certainty for users. Okay, now we go to the next section of today. Our next speaker is Mr. Huang Zhiwen. He is the Director of Renewable Energy Certification Center under BSMI in Chinese Taipei. And under his leadership, the BSMI has built an excellent renewable energy certificate system and has made major progress in recent years. The topic he's going to share is A Path to Sustainability, TREC, Renewable Energy Roadmap. Mr. Huang, you have the floor, please.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. My name is Zhiwen Huang. I'm the Director of TREC Center, BSMI. The topic I'm going to share today is A Path to Sustainability, TREC Renewable Energy Roadmap. It is my pleasure to share my experiences about TREC development here at this forum. I have divided my presentation in three sections. The first is TREC history and contribution. The second part is about TREC system introduction. The third part is TREC virtual outlook. Let's start with TREC history and contribution. I would like to briefly introduce BSMI and our TREC Center first. The Bureau of Standards, Metrology and Inspection, BSMI, is the regulator of consumer product safety and waste and management instruments. It also promotes the sound development of technical infrastructure in Chinese Taipei. TREC Center was established under the BSNI in 2016. Its most important mission is to operate the Renewable Energy Certificate System, which involves drafting operation procedures and setting up tracking system. Here comes to the orange operate. Due to climate change and global warming, the energy transition is necessary. A lot of large companies have joined sustainable related initiatives such as RE100. This brought in long-term demand for green electricity. Companies that use renewable energy can improve their reputation and meet renewable energy regulations. More and more international companies are also requesting their suppliers to use renewable energy in the manufacturing processes. The amendment, the Electricity Act in 2017, opened the electricity market in Chinese Taipei to private sectors. However, it is impossible to distinguish green electricity in the power grid. So, how to prove the usage of green electricity? Renewable energy certificate is the solution. RECs can be used to verify green electricity source and used as tracking system internationally. The carbon reduction contribution by REC. Our TREC is not only recognized internationally, it also becomes the best partner of local companies. TREC has achieved numerous achievements and contribution in less than 5 years since its establishment. The number of TREC issuance increases rapidly in these 2 years. As of December 2021, a total of over 1 million TRECs were issued. Here is the second part of my presentation. I'm going to talk about the TREC system. I would like to begin this part at introducing some important features of TREC. The management and the verification of TREC are operated by the public sector. The TREC quantifies the environmental benefits and reflecting zero greenhouse gas emission from electricity. And because we track every TREC with our TREC tracking system, we can make sure that the related environmental benefits are not double counted. Furthermore, TREC links up with many international standards, both domestic and international awards, and important initiatives such as CDP, RE100, APEC, and LEED. All the features I mentioned here make TREC system more reliable. As I mentioned in the previous slide, TREC has been recognized internationally by CDP, RE100, APEC, LEED, and so on. TREC also have the policy support. It can be used in our greenhouse gas emission inventory. We have announced that to achieve net zero transition by 2050 is the world's goal, and so is our goal in 2021. TRECs can be used as calculation tools for the indirect emissions of electricity for GHG emission inventory. This slide is to show you the status of our current TREC transfer model and our TREC market operation. There are three ways to acquire TREC. First is the self-use of generated renewable energy power. Generation facilities use the green electricity that generated and hold environmental benefits. Second, the electricity user has no need for claiming environmental benefits. The unbundled TREC can be given to those who have environmental benefit demands. The third pathway is the way that the TRECs are bundled with renewable electricity. Both the certificate and the renewable electricity are given from the seller to the user. The electricity is wheeled through the transmission and the distribution company to the end users. The diagram here shows clearly that there are variable ways for TREC transactions. Corporate can choose the most appropriate pathway to achieve the established goal. The picture here briefly shows how a TREC looks like and what the tracking system includes. TRECs are issued electronically with its own certification number. You can scan the QR code. You can scan the QR code on it, and it will show you all the basic information. This comprehensive tracking system is a tool for green electricity source verification. TREC can be widely used around the world because the information it recorded meets the requirements for those international rating systems or standards. We also build a diverse green electricity market through unit business models to meet the needs. One of our innovative business models for TREC is office building pilot projects. Because power grid can only transfer electricity to the building owner. Through these projects, tenants can purchase green electricity to reach their corporate sustainability goal. Now, it's the last part of my presentation, the TREC future outlook. With the diverse development and application of TREC, we have confidence that TREC will lead us toward sustainability. The following four different aspects are what we plan to do in the near future. One, to develop various green commodities to meet the demand. Two, develop the green transportation services. For example, through linking up TREC with those renewable energy charging piles. Even with the green public transportation services, it not only increases the installation of renewable energy, but also spans the application of TREC. 3. To upgrade the energy storage system, which is important to renewables. It helps to ensure a stable safe and high-quality green power supply to complete the whole system. 4. To work with other member economies toward a bilateral or multilateral tiered mechanism regional level. We believe that a regional REC system will reduce trade barriers and promote green trade. We see many challenges and more opportunities by increasing the proportion of renewable energy used together, as well as improving and promoting the renewable energy certification system. It can foster communication in Asia Pacific region and bring possible collaborations in the future. By region consistency, the barriers of green trade can be lower and we are led to path to sustainability. That's my presentation for today. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, Mr. Huang. I think BSMI established the REC system in a relatively short time, and the experience and know-how from Chinese Taipei may be very useful for newcomers. Thank you. Now we go to the third section of today. Our third speaker is Mr. Azhar. He is the Assistant Director of Strategic Planning Division of SEDA Malaysia. Mr. Azhar participating in the development of Malaysian Renewable Energy Roadmap and many initiatives such as Malaysian Renewable Energy Certificates to support renewable energy deployment in Malaysia. The topic he's going to share is renewable energy and renewable energy certification development in Malaysia. Mr. Azhar, you have the floor, please.
Okay, first, good morning, everyone. My name is Azhar. I'm from Sustainable Energy Development Authority of Malaysia. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizer, the Bureau of Standard Metrology and Inspection, or BSMI, and to APEC country member for the invitation to share about the renewable energy and renewable energy certification development in Malaysia. I would like to start with a brief introduction about my organization. It's about SEDA Malaysia. SEDA was established in 2011 under the SEDA Act. So we are agency under the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources. This is among of the SEDA function. One of it is to implement the sustainable energy law and recommend reform such law and federal government. And we also to act as a focal point on matters relating to sustainable energy and climate change matters relating to the energy. Okay, this is a journey about the RE in Malaysia. So SEDA alongside with industry player are working towards realizing national RE aspiration, whereby our RE program starting in 2001, which the Small Renewable Energy Program, or SREP. And then in 2011, it's more exciting that we introduced the RE Act 2011 for the implementation of the feed-in tariff mechanism, and then also establishment of the SEDA Malaysia. In 2016, our government introduced a large-scale solar program and net energy metering, and also CERCO. As of 2020, our generation is about 24% in terms of capacity mix. And then in 2025, we're targeting about to achieve 31% RE in the capacity mix and 40% by 2035. Okay, this is the program that available in Malaysia. That yes, as I mentioned just now, is that we have for the renewable energy, we have the feed-in tariff program, net energy metering, large-scale solar, and also CERCO. For the EE, or energy efficiency, on the demand side, We have the facilitation and certification, the energy monitoring system, and then recently we have launched the SAFE program, whereby the consumer can purchase with the government incentive to purchase the high efficiency of the electric equipment. And then the energy audit grant. Okay, the RA program in Malaysia mainly have 4 technology pillar, which is solar PV, biogas, biomass, and small hydro. For the solar PV, we have self-consumption, net energy metering, and large-scale solar. For the feed-in tariff, for the solar PV, for the feed-in tariff, it's already ends by 2016 because it's already oversubscribed. And then, but we still continue with the biogas, biomass, and small hydro. For the Celco program, the solar PV generator is for own use only. It's not allowed to export to the any grid. And then for the NEM, solar PV, the intention is to own use, and then the consumer can export the energy, the surplus energy to the grid. And then for the feed-in tariff and large-scale solar, it's 100% connect to the grid, sell to the grid. Yeah. Okay, with regards to the Paris Agreement, okay, Malaysia also taking part in the global agenda, and the power sector play the key role in ensuring its aspiration can be realized, whereby for the Paris Agreement 2015, Malaysia has pledged about 45% carbon emission intensity reduction. It's based on GDP 2005 by 2030. And secondly, under 12th Malaysia Plan, Malaysia have pledged towards net zero GHG emission by 2050. Okay, for the global companies and the large organization has put priorities towards environmental, social, and corporate governance, or ESG goal. The shift have been since accelerate the global pandemic apart from changes to be seen in the ESG reporting, regulation, and future sustainability in Malaysia. In particular to environment, one of the key measures for this is through the GHG emission. Okay, global emission contributed by all sector. You can see that the energy sector is the main contributor, the highest contributor, and have the bigger potential. It's about 35% contribution for the emission. Okay, this is some snapshot about the private sector that have aligning their strategic path towards the SDG target. Okay, in Malaysia we have a banking sector that purchased Malaysia REX, and then Sarawak also deliver its first the renewable energy certificate. I think 2 years ago. Just want to share about recently our government has launched the Malaysia Renewable Energy Roadmap, or MYRA, on 30th of December 2021. Okay, the objective of MYRA is to determine the renewable energy target in electricity mix up to 2035, and is to determine the strategies required to achieve the renewable energy target. This roadmap also address the trilemma issue, which is quite popular in the electricity generation. Okay, the roadmap aims to strike the balance between environment target, preserve affordability and economic benefits, and maintain system stability by mitigating the impact of variable RE sources. Okay, as mentioned just now, this roadmap was set target to achieve 31% of RE share in the national installed capacity mix by 2025. Okay, this is in line with the Malaysia target on the global climate commitment is to reduce its economic-wide carbon intensity against GDP of 45% in 2030 compared to 2005 level. Okay, the MYRA also is commissioned to support further decarbonization of the electricity sector in Malaysia through to 2035 milestone. Okay, The strategic pillars that have been identified for this renewable energy roadmap is we have 4 technology pillars led by solar. Then we have for the solar, we are focusing to accelerate the rooftop PV deployment and to roll out large-scale solar to create new business model. And then we also have bioenergy, the hydro and the new solution and resources. This is for post 2025. We want this new solution includes the hydrogen, the energy storage, and etc. Under the initiative 1.2, which is to introduce the new business model, we have identified a new business model, which is a corporate PPA, peer-to-peer energy trading, and of course, it's about the renewable energy certificate. Okay, for the REC in Malaysia, it's based on the still based on the voluntary basis, but in Malaysia, it's still subjected to the attribute that from the respective attribute RE program. For example, for the large scale solar, the green attribute ownership is our utility company, Tenaga Nasional Berhad. And then for the net energy metering and Selco program, the environment attribute is owned by the asset owner. Okay, there are several platforms operates in Malaysia. We have our local platform. We call that MGAT, Malaysia Green Attribute Tracking System, IREX, and then the APEX. In 2020, for the MGATs, we have seen the high uptake rate. It's about 483,000 megawatt-hour of rate has been subscribed. And then for the IREX, it's more than 40 companies registered with the total more than 1,000 megawatt. And then for APEX, it's about 13 companies registered with the total capacity up to around 68 megawatt. Okay, this is the potential of the RE generation in Malaysia for 2025 is under the new capacity target scenario. Okay, we can see that in 2021, if all renewable energy assets are leveraged to generate RECs, then the estimated number of certificates issued in 1 year would be approximately about 29 million in 2021, corresponding to 19% of the total power consumption in Malaysia, growing to 38 million by 2035 or 14% of power consumption. If large hydro assets are excluded, RECs issuance could still cover 4% of electricity consumption in 2021, going to 9% by 2025. Okay, this is some in the infographic about the REC in Malaysia. Okay, the REC represent about 1 megawatt hour of the renewable energy to the grid and allocated environment benefit, replacing 1 megawatt of the conventional power. There are 2 generators. That is, we call that for the coal from the natural and the natural gas, we call that as a brown energy. And then for the RE is about the green energy. So this can be addressed if now both green and brown energy generator is fit into the same power tool. And then we know that the electron have no color been tagging, so impossible to differentiate between the green or brown. Nonetheless, the international guidelines such as IREC and TIGES has established the mechanism on how to track the green that leads to creation of the RECs. So in Malaysia, we have the MGATs that can issue the certificate. MGATs collaboration between our local company, TMBX, and the international platform. Okay, just want to update about recently our government also has launched a green electricity tariff. Okay, this is a government initiative to provide the option of the green electricity coming from the RE supply to any electricity consumer to reduce their carbon footprint. This GET program is a part of national initiative to achieve net zero emission by year 2050. And then GET subscribe can be supplied by green electricity coming from the solar and also the hydro generator. On top of that, the green energy is backed by the NZECS, which is based on the international standard. Okay, just subscriber, for your information, that the subscriber need to pay additional of 3.7 cent per kilowatt hour for the total RE generation subscribed. And then for the residential, is one block is equivalent to 100 kilowatt hour. And for non-run residential is one block equivalent to 1000 kilowatt hour. At the end of the calendar year, the subscriber will receive the certificate, the equivalent to the amount of the subscribed from the green electricity tariff. Okay, this is the green quota, and we publish and display in the NZECS website. Okay, the availability showing that around 4.5 4,500,000 megawatt hour, and the annual quota subscribed is about 800 megawatt hour. So this information available in the NZECS or the TNBX website. Okay, our Energy Commission also had issued a guide on the gas green electricity tariff, whereby the guide is aimed to describe the green electricity tariff program in terms of the applications and the integration with Malaysia RECS mechanism. And then it's provide a guide on the framework of the green electricity tariff program and its implementation. And this guideline also to set a role and responsibilities of the relevant parties to the green electricity tariff program. Okay, there is some benefit of the green electricity tariff program. For every RECS MREC purchase, 1 megawatt hour electricity purchase from the grid can be exempted from the calculation at the emission factor 0.639 ton CO2 per megawatt. This is what we have declared in the United Nations in terms of the gas emission. Organization can completely zeroize the emission by matching their metered consumption with the purchase of the MRECs. And then the quality and credibility green electricity tariff assured is under the MRECs, because MREC also have their tracking system, and then in terms of the source of the field of generation, and then the vintage of the energy generated. Mainly of the MREC is from the solar and also the hydro. Okay, the GATS program also supporting the green sustainable energy, the green sustainable agenda. Purchasing of GATS can be part of the organization corporate social CSR contribution. Okay, it's just a summary about the strategic framework for the RECS initiative under the MIRA. Okay, REC can, I would say that REC can facilitate the take-up for corporate PPA and the green electricity tariff program while providing additional income stream for RE asset developer. And then the corporate can utilize to purchase green attribute from RE developer and meet their RE procurement goal. Utilities can utilize the RECS by purchasing the green attribute from RE developer package with green tariff, and the REC market should incorporate the flexible procurement from the utilities or mandated party in meeting both public and private sector. So in line with the current transition towards sustainable from the private sector, the REC is expected to have a high demand and be able to create a new business model. I think that's all for my presentation, and hand over to the organizer. Thank you.